If you follow the NBA on social media, there's a pretty good chance you saw some clips of Luka Doncic just absolutely frying the Mavericks trainers. And what I find so funny about these videos is that it almost looks like he's moving at 25% speed and barely putting in any effort. Yet you turn on a random Mavs game and you see him doing the exact same things to even the very best defenders in the NBA. Luka is the definition of playing at your own pace. He makes every possession look so easy, yet nobody in the league can stay in front of him. That's because his change of speed is among the best we've ever seen, starting and stopping with precise timing so that defenders aren't able to keep him from touching the paint. At times, he sort of intentionally gets into really awkward attack angles as a way of setting up his man. Instead of bursting right out of a tween, he pauses with his feet in a wide stance. But because he's not relying on speed, he can take that first step with the same effectiveness, getting all the way to the cup for a big body finish. Because he can burst out of literally any stance, defenders never know when he's going to start his drive. So what he'll do is just spam size-ups and hesitations to keep them guessing, so that when he does attack, they're always a step late sliding in front of the lane. Here's one where he wants to set up a drive down the middle, and to create that angle, he's going to really exaggerate a left-hand hesitation. At the exact moment that Kyrie slides, Luka throws it between his legs while accelerating downhill, and just like that, he's left with a runway to the basket. The way he's constantly pausing and reading his defender allows him to have a counter for literally every situation. First, he looks to spin into a drive, but Terrence Ross does a good job of shifting his momentum to play that threat. So Luka hesitates out of the spin only to burst again, and that one gives him an angle right around Ross for a layup. Later in that same game, he hit him with the exact same move. First, it's a right-hand hesitation to set up a spin back to his left, then the hesitation into a drive as he sets up another easy two. It's not just the speeding up aspect that makes Luka's change of pace game so lethal, but how fast he can slow down. He's in complete control of his momentum at all times, which means that he can adjust it accordingly. His deceleration, or ability to stop on a dime, is among the best in NBA history. First, you see that spamming of size-ups and hesitations as he looks to set up a drive, and when he gets that first step by Lillard, he throws all of his momentum downhill, only to come to a screeching halt right in front of the basket so that he can float it over a shot blocker. This slamming of the brakes pairs incredibly well with Luka's length. I can't really find the words to describe exactly what he's doing here, but the slow motion, exaggerated strides as he speeds up and slows down repeatedly sets him up for a high quality finish. To make things even more difficult, he'll use shoulder bumps while coming to a complete stop for even more separation, and then his length and touch as a finisher are able to take care of the rest. Those types of plays are made possible by his strength. We're talking about a huge perimeter creator. At his preferred playing weight, he's 6'7", 230 pounds, and that's a big 230. He's moving mass. So, in the event that his initial change of pace doesn't create an automatic advantage, he'll just use his large frame to initiate contact and bully his way to wherever it is he's trying to go. Take this play for example. He first looks to attack on a left-hand drive, but Jalen Williams cuts that off, so he drops the shoulder for some space to change direction and instead attacks right. But that also gets closed off, so he again creates contact before counter-spinning back to his left, then you get that one-of-one deceleration, generating a wide-open floater. That combination of size and strength enables him to just abuse mismatches. Dennis Smith Jr. has the lateral quickness to remain in between Luka and the basket, but as soon as that shoulder gets lowered, it's like he's not even there. It isn't just smaller players that Luka will do this to either. Al Horford is a sturdy center who's had success against the likes of Giannis and Joel Embiid in the playoffs, but even he has nothing for that big body shoulder bump. The way Luka uses his body and constantly seeks out or plays through contact has turned him into a free throw machine. He's also got some tricks in his bag, like the way he uses up fakes to get defenders off their feet, and the way he can pretty egregiously sell even the smallest bit of contact. But say what you want about his shamelessness, because it works, and he's an elite foul drawer. Last year he got to the line 10.5 times a game, 4th in the NBA. Everything I've talked about up to this point, the size, strength, ability to stop on a dime, also means that out of drives, he has unlimited access to the mid-range. Last season, he took about 9 mid-range shots every 75 possessions and hit 52% of them. The only other player to reach both of those marks was Kevin Durant, who's probably the best mid-range scorer in NBA history. He'll weaponize the change of pace driving threat with those size ups and hesitations because he can just pull back into a jumper at any moment. Out of drives is where you see the strength and deceleration setting up these opportunities. He first attacks right, spins into a drive left while initiating some contact with his off arm, only to slam the brakes for a short jumper from inside the paint. One thing Luka really likes to do when his drive gets cut off is drop the shoulder while slowing down and then spin back out towards the perimeter for some separation on a fall-away jumper. His footwork and body control is just so smooth when going through these motions, and all he needs is just an inch of breathing room because he's such a tough shot maker. Another reason these spins are so tough to defend is because you never know if he's looking to set up a jumper or if he's going to take it all the way through with those lengthy strides into a layup. And then there's also the fact that his counters have counters of their own, spinning back towards the middle for a jumper, except he just throws that into an up fake before ducking under for a scooping finish. The way he uses these fakes and crafty footwork makes him just as much of a threat to score after picking up his dribble. First it's a fake floater, then a fake pass that almost buckles Nas Reed, then he's spinning back into a mid-range jumper with nobody in his vicinity. These things also help him in the post, which has turned into a much bigger part of his game than I think a lot of people realize. Last season, Luka averaged 4 points per game in the post, 4th in the NBA, and 1st by a wide margin among non-bigs, and he did it on an extremely efficient 1.14 points per possession. These are numbers you'd expect from a guy like Jokic or Embiid, not someone who does most of his creation with a live dribble on the perimeter. Of course, the size and strength allow him to just abuse mismatches, getting all the way to the paint with ease. And what he'll do against these smaller defenders is just patiently back his way in. No matter how long it takes, he's getting to that spot whether you like it or not. Most commonly, what he's looking to do is set up a post fade over his right shoulder, a shot that he's completely mastered and helps juice those incredible mid-range numbers. And he'll use the threat of that right shoulder fade to open up other opportunities. This time it's an up fake and step through, absorbing contact for 2 points plus the foul. On this one, it again starts with an up fake, but his defender doesn't bite. So when he steps through, that's just to set up another spin back towards the middle, and this time he's gonna take the fade with that added separation. Here's an example where Dallas clears an entire side of the floor for that Luka post-up, and with the baseline completely unoccupied and a big man digging from the middle, it almost seems too obvious that he's gonna turn over that right shoulder for a fall-away jumper. So instead of doing that, he rips through help in the middle, which draws a reaching foul and goes up into a hook for another potential 3-point play. I know I said he prefers to turn over his right shoulder on his fadeaway, but when that starts to get overplayed, he's also capable of spinning into jumpers over his left, and so what you get is this level of unpredictability. Because he's a threat to turn over his left, he'll use that to open up more stuff over his right, this time throwing a half spin to freeze his defender, and that's all the space he needs for 2 points over the top. Again, it's all about perfect timing. When we talk about the change of pace attack, it typically describes driving, but Luka also has that with his back to the basket, feeling out defenders and darting into spins over either shoulder. He's not super agile, but because of how well balanced he is and the perfect body control, his spins are actually ferociously quick and can leave him with wide open layups. It's not just with his back to the basket where he'll operate from a standstill, he's also a guy who can face up from any spot inside the arc. Remember I mentioned how he can burst out of awkward foot angles. Both of his feet are facing the middle of the floor, but in just one motion he's exploding baseline for a wide open dunk. This is a real similar play, except this time his initial step gets closed off. So he just drops the shoulder and works his way to the rim like an all-pro fullback. Luka's not at all an explosive or traditionally athletic guy, but he's got all of those tools that turn him into an incredible athlete and a walking mismatch. The size, strength, and length, with the change of speed, balance, and overall coordination, leave you with this guy who's just impossible to contain inside the arc. He's going to get to his spot just about every single time he touches the ball, and defenders just have to deal with it, hoping he misses or whatever. And in addition to all of that, he also happens to be a high-level off-the-dribble three-point shooter, so it all comes full circle back to that live dribble game on the perimeter. Defenders aren't able to sag off of him at the point of attack or play in a softer, more paint-oriented coverage because he has the outside threat. He wants to step back to his left at almost a 45-degree angle, and to set that up, he'll use those hesitations and size-ups I keep going back to before aggressively pulling back to create space. Once again, it's all about perfect timing, setting up his man as if looking to drive before getting into his shot, and it's not that he needs too much separation anyways, because he is a ridiculously tough shot maker. At times, I feel like he wants to be tightly contested as opposed to open. Also, there's the range. He will hit from multiple feet beyond the arc pretty consistently. Since 2021, he's taken just under 7.5 pull-up threes every 36 minutes and hit 35% of them. These are some really impressive numbers, especially when considering the difficulty in his shot diet, and the way it pairs with the rest of his attack gives you this leveraging the threat effect that allows him to access all three levels whenever he wants. He's spamming that signature tween cross size up, and from that position we all know he'll burst on a drive. So when he instead steps back into a jumper, it's a late contest and he's comfortably pouring in 3 points. But when he spams the size up, throws a couple hesitations, aggressively pulls back as if looking to fire, and his defender bites, that just opens up a driving lane and he's jogging into a free 2 points at the rim. And finally, when he threatens the 3-pointer into a drive and that gets cut off, well, he can just fall back on that near league best mid-range scoring. You hear the term 3-level scorer used to describe guys all the time, but he's one of the few who actually uses all three at volume and on good efficiency. There's the high-level rim pressure. He was third in the NBA at about 20 drives a game last season, and although I never went too in-depth on his arsenal as a finisher, he's got it all. The scoops, the crafty angles, the strength and length to always generate a good look. He shot 72% at the rim on some pretty difficult shot quality. Another thing is the touch, which is especially noticeable from a bit further when he's going to his little running hooks and floaters. The guy shot 58% from 3 to 10 feet last year. For the sake of this content, if Jokic was just erased from history, I'd probably say that Luka has the best push shot I've ever seen. Big shout out to his new teammate Richaun Holmes though. If a defender is somehow able to slow down that area of his game, he's got the mid-range, with the shot making and creation skills needed to literally have a quality release valve at all times. And finally, he'll get off 7 to 8 off the dribble threes a game at a respectable clip, and there's nothing a defense can do to take that away. The overall result, leading the league at about 8 isolation points per game and generating 1.11 points per attempt, just an unholy combination of volume and efficiency. And if you even think about bringing an extra defender or two to slow down his scoring, he's one of the most versatile, creative, and deadliest playmakers the game has ever seen. As a result, I don't think there's a player in the NBA who can really compete when it comes to how much offense he's capable of generating with the ball in his hands, and Dallas has leaned into that ball dominance. He had the ball in his hands for more than 9 minutes a game last year, right around where Westbrook and Harden each landed in their respective MVP seasons. This isn't even getting into Luka's pick and roll game either, and despite dominating the ball so much, because he's so good at it, you still get absurdly good offensive results. With Luka on the floor, the Mavs produced a 120 offensive rating, and that's with a lot of his time being spent next to stationary spot-up, defensively inclined players. It's been amazing to watch what he's capable of doing at such a young age, and I really like what the Mavs have built around him this season. and I just can't wait to see how he and Kyrie continue to make a fool out of opposing defenses. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you think of Luka. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.